Clarity Pharmaceuticals has always stood out as a little bit distinct as a biotech in the Australian landscape. You've managed to attract a high calibre of talent and people wanting to work at Clarity Pharmaceuticals from multiple disciplines. Can you just take us through what is very different about Clarity Pharmaceuticals and what is motivating and attracting people to come and work at Clarity, and what are you all looking forward to? What's ahead?
Yeah, so from Clarity's perspective, we are in a great sector, right? Radiopharmaceuticals is up and coming, and that's where you want to be, right? You want to be on the cutting edge of new therapies and the like. And the changes over the last few years towards more radiopharmaceutical acceptance has been terrific. So that's the first part. But what separates us at Clarity as opposed to some other radiopharmaceutical companies is fundamentally, again, I'm going to go back to basics. We have very, very strong science. And this is from the building of our products and looking at the industry and what's happening in the industry through to strong intellectual property. Now, this is where the background in investment banking becomes handy, because you realize, certainly when it comes to strong pharmaceutical companies, they have really strong intellectual property, and they have terrific science. Right? So you see a lot of comparators to us of commercializing generics, where it's a little bit more of a race to the bottom. Even though we're a new industry, there's groups that are just getting things that are available to them, in licensing them and trying, or not even in licensing them, just really going across to the cache of investigator initiated trials and then launching products. We've gone back to the old school. Strong IP, strong data grows strong companies. And I think that then is easy to attract new people because they see the differentiator. And you can see that when we're looking at building best-in-class products. Our PSMA agent isn't like the other PSMA agents. We saw the problems of other PSMA agents, and we fixed those problems in ours to look to increase the uptake in tumours and then obviously have it stay over time. And we look at our other ones, where our other products, where they're new into the market and they're looking for instance, in prostate cancer, looking for prostate cancer that doesn't have that target for PSMA, and we're seeing really great advances in that. So that really attracts really good people. But the last point is that we're such a great science story, right? When you break it down to fundamentals again, where the work that was originally done was out of ANU some 60, 70 years ago. A great scientist, Professor Alan Sargison, went about with this goal. He was a chemist, went about this goal of just trying to hold copper in the first instance, because he knew that the copper isotopes potentially provided good imaging and therapy options well down the track.
So he wanted to develop a cage to hold copper.
Just to hold copper. Quite a simple outcome, right? But that couldn't be done with commercially available cages at that point in time. And it just happens to be that those isotopes of copper, in particular, we've selected two isotopes. There's many isotopes of copper, but two. Copper-64 is a fantastic PET imaging agent, and it has a longer half-life than the ones which are currently commercial. So that means we can centrally manufacture and broadly distribute our products. And we also can not just image at 1 hour, we can image at later time points. And we've seen benefits of all of that, right? But then we have copper-67, this perfect pairing of copper isotopes, all built originally around this cage that holds it, but we can use copper-67, which is a fantastic therapy isotope, very similar to lutetium, the competing product, but it has all of these other advantages, including the half-life, and how much radiation you lose at any point in time, more related to the biological half-life of the peptides we use. So it's more optimized really for the treatment. So it just went hand in hand. And I must say, that was none of our work. That was all serendipitous. That is nature and copper isotopes. That is a great scientist who saw potentially, future outcomes on that. But it got into the hands of a gentleman called Professor Paul Donnelly, who said, right, this looks, the basic science looks really good. How do we deliver this? How do we scale it up? How do we make it easy to use? And how do we make it bifunctional, that we can actually bind something to that cage and look at targeting cancers directly? And so that's where it was a real evolution of great science based on the natural world around us in copper isotopes. And now copper-67 and copper-64 have much better manufacturing processes. Copper-67 is manufactured on a rototron, which is the size of a cyclotron. It's not very large, and it costs tens of millions to set up a facility instead of billions of dollars to set up a nuclear reactor. The cyclotrons are well-characterized science. We can mass produce those at copper-64 itself and broadly distribute, and then have the benefits of that diagnosis and therapy all in one facility. Really manufacturing process, and then obviously distributing those products to wherever there's a PET camera or wherever there's a patient in need. This is a great evolution of science, and I think that people get to understand that. People in the radiopharmaceutical market can look in and say, wow, look at the quality of the science here. It's fantastic. Look what you're doing here. Look at the recruitment. Look where you're doing your clinical trials at all the major centers in the US and Australia. And when they see that quality of science, as opposed to, as I said, just bringing any rubbish in and trying to sell it, we're not about that. We're about how do we differentiate at the product level, how do we differentiate at the overall scale level, and how then do we deliver solutions for what is the opportunity to grow into a very large radiopharmaceutical space, not just in Australia, not just in the US, but Europe and large populations such as Asia. That's where we see the opportunity for Clarity.
Yeah. So you're really using that great science story and taking it further to end think about what are all the challenges along the way that need to be overcome, including in manufacturing and supply chain, as well as making sure with that ultimate aim of getting to the patient.
That's exactly right. And so when you look at, and people come in and do some DD, it can all be solved with science. They look at the detail of the science, they get it. It's that easy. And that's why we've been able to attract very good people onto our board and our scientific advisory board, but importantly, in our team. So we have a lot of people within our team with substantial skills and experience in radiopharm, in pharmaceuticals, and that's how we've really been able to achieve what we've achieved to date. 6 products in clinical trials, 7 clinical trials going on at the moment, and building more and more data, but really delivering a solution to those key questions of how do we better treat cancers? How do we better diagnose cancers? And then the key is in radiopharmaceuticals, and we've seen a lot of products fail in delivery of radiopharmaceuticals. We're currently going through that stage, particularly those who rely on nuclear reactors, and there's a nuclear reactor down now that supplies that. We can get away from all of that and have back to basics again, strong intellectual property, great data, but importantly a manufacturing and supply chain that can deliver products at the end of the day.